Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Robert Edward Miss. I am a poet, and I have assembled 7 poems which I would like to read to you today. I'm entitling this group a septet of poems against the futility of war and the horror of watching our democracy being torn apart from the inside out. The first poem is entitled The Embattled, 1944. I wrote this sonnet in a college writing class taught by a very kind gentleman, Father William Hill of the Society of Jesus. That's the first time I was encouraged to write a poem, going all the way back to my first grade teacher, Sister Mary Mora of the School Sisters of Notre Dame, who encouraged me to write a poem, and it was my very first poem about my dog. So, The Embattled is about the way we children, our kids, in the 1940s reacted to the Second World War by playing soldiers and enacting battles against America's enemies. Our parents and relatives were really not aware of how much we were absorbing from the news and the concerns people had for those who were serving in the military and mourning those who were not coming back. The Embattled, 1944, by Robert Edward Miss. We hunched our backs and charged uphill. The knot of acid thrill which fired and drove us, burst the bowels, rammed the rib cage, jet-like shot us over hedge and ditch. Gun butts struck first. We pounded hard until our arms were sore. But above our battle cries, a strange voice came. One call, quick cooled the battle heat. The corps of gallant sandlot warriors stopped, turned tame. Oh, Jimmy, dinner time. Already? Now. With rifle, helmet, Jimmy started home. We bantered not of baseball games, but how Marines were best, still bearing acid foam. We bear it yet. We charge, we rage, we pound. We aim our sterile guns at vacant ground. The next poem is entitled War Children USA. This goes into more detail, and it revolves around several nighttime raids we neighborhood kids made to recover scrap weapons and other battle paraphernalia from open freight cars left on a siding by a foundry, shipped there for melting down and remaking into new war materials and guns. War Children USA by Robert Edward Miss. This is a little longer. We had read about Kristallnacht, the fear of eating broken glass that was the feeling it gave us, even for us complacent schoolboys. But we ourselves played with Tommy guns, shipped from the front on scrap trains, their works ripped out to render us harmless. Too young we were to make the connection to our fathers, brothers, and uncles, their guts ripped out and limbs sent back to star-hung homes awaiting a triumphant return. Every day we heard Edward R. Murrow on crackling radios, saw life photos and Pathé newsreels, stark blacks and whites of grainy urgency, thrilling mayhem woven with camaraderie. But the Reader's Digest stories of the Gestapo, personal accounts of battered doors and sharded lives, made us feel that click of a footfall would be them coming for us in the middle of the night. So we congregated by railroad cars after dark, while our mothers cleaned up after supper, and Grandpa read the day's Baltimore American, thinking we were under the street lamp on Maxwell Avenue playing kick the can. No, we were arming for hobnailed boots, clattering over battered helmets and shell casings, fondling empty hand grenades, looking, praying for an intact weapon, insensitive to the inflections of carnage written in the twisted metal. Inflamed by urgent war nerves, we swashed the darkness with steel bayonets, feeling a voluptuous surge that anticipated future nights of writhing pleasures and starry lovers. But we would never make the leap, standing atop our rusted train, sniffing the air for security guards, to the cattle cars of Sachsenhausen, the lost children of Theresienstadt, rotting bodies, stinking ovens, wolf-haired sentry dogs. We knew only that after school we would wipe out whole machine gun nests, then go home for supper, stash our weapons under the back porch, dive into a house reeking of cooked cabbage. More stories of fighting from the front, mixed with the likes of Amos and Andy, family radio, interrupted on random nights by air raid drills, when all lights went off and oilcloth curtains dropped over windows. Every evening, the evils of war automatically stopped at 10 o'clock, our appointed bedtime. Later, there might be the solitary clackety whir of an airplane. We always knew it was ours, but whispered into the expectant darkness that we hoped it was the enemy, enforcing our ambition to become heroes in the middle of the night, like our uncles, our fathers, our blood-soaked brothers. The next poem in the Septet is entitled Bethesda Fountain. Bethesda Fountain is part of the Bethesda Terrace in the northern end of New York City's Central Park. So if you go up there, you'll come upon this beautiful Bethesda Terrace with a large statue of an angel overlooking a reflecting pond. The angel is called the Angel of the Waters, and it hovers over that terrace's fountain and reflecting pond. Bethesda Fountain, Central Park, 2004, by Robert Edward Miss. Quiet murmur of a peaceful Sunday in the park, strolling arm in arm with my darling Lily. I dance to her laughter and her smiles, see the approving glances of passers-by. Must be my military uniform, could be her voluptuous charm I've come many miles to enjoy. But where did she go, my mirthful love fool? Where are the husbands and wives, their raucous children playing in the sand, sailing boats into the fountain pool? They scurried like a frightful band of gypsies. I remember the wiry, wild-eyed man, half naked, lunging from the shade, the flash of some broad blade behind me. And now I see the red tinge in the waters below. I see my severed head in the hand of a hovering angel. Now I won't have to go, not join the glowering binge of war. The next poem in this series is entitled Eating Our Young. It reflects the criticism of the George W. Bush presidential administration for banning media coverage and photography of flag-draped coffins returning from Iraq to the U.S. military bases. They reportedly did this to avoid the public becoming aware of the human cost of the Iraq War. Eating Our Young by Robert Edward Miss. A peaceful drive past Arlington Cemetery. You fallen warriors who saved our country, please teach us to forgive the hubris that puts our land in jeopardy. Help us outlive the power lust that blights the lives of our soldier children. Where have all the flowers gone? There's none on the flag-draped caskets of our daughters and sons. Their valor remains hidden from sight in their transport home. Where have all the arms and legs gone? An explosive device has taken every one. Tens of thousands blown to kingdom come. How long before this generation rises up against the remorseless theft of our nation's sense of hope? Will it take 70 years or more to restore our pillaged self-respect? Rogue beasts within are eating our young. When we the people deal with this, the terror without will be undone. The next poem takes place in more recent times. It's entitled The Alchemy of Hades. I've had the pleasure of reading this, if you want to call it a pleasure because of its nature, a number of times. The Alchemy of Hades. We sat on the rim of Hades, watching the firemen emerge from the mammoth pit in their dusty shuttle bus. They had labored a 12-hour shift to clear the debris and find the bones that were not incinerated. When melted computers fuse with flesh, an insidious fragrance effuses the air like leftover funeral flowers. Perhaps more like the smell emitted from the furnaces at Auschwitz, or the smoldering Cheyenne teepees left burning by Custer's cavalry. Such was the malingering scent at ground zero of America's commerce, the towering twins born from the loins of Mammon, reduced now to a hole in the ground of twisted metal and sticky gray ashes. While the other firemen sat heads down, exhausted, Captain Murphy sat next to us. We were rogue visitors who somehow slipped past security to vainly see if we could help. He did not question us, but spoke of his family in Queens and his first responder son who made it out in time. For us to play counselor or consoler, quote the Bible or a spiritual leader would have been a meaningless distraction. Captain Murphy was pure American steel, doing what he was trained to do, and he was doing it well. The survival of his son, his love for family and country, rang positive enough on this sunny day in September, overlooking hell. Much more recent, even the previous poem about 9/11, when three of us ventured into the pit, comes the next poem, The Halls Where It Happened. Watching the attack on the Capitol all day on live television and on January 6, 2021, throttled my very being. I was in shock for about a month or more after that day. One morning, much later, I woke up with a compelling urge to write a poem about the insurrection that harmed our democracy forever. I felt in my bones that this had to be a special poem with strong language and literary allusions, such as the title, which harks to Hamilton, the breakthrough musical theater. Also, Bar the Door bespeaks of an old Scottish poem called Bar the Door. And of course the opening, I tried to phonetically imitate the opening of Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. Not sure it worked, but you'll see what it is, or hear it rather. And finally, the sentence, "Come down, Daniel, to the lion's den," refers to one of my favorite plays by T.S. Eliot, Murder in the Cathedral, which I have always loved. So here it is, The Halls Where It Happened, by Robert Edward Miss. Bum 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 bum, bum 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 bum. Bar the door, run off the floor, the barriers are breached. We're here on orders of the king. Come down, Daniel, to the lion's den. Smell the blood running through the halls. Try to save the portraits we're ripping from the walls. We will find you. We call you by name. Saving our country is our claim. Besides the desecrations, we're here for assassinations. While they hunt for our leaders, hid in the gallery is a cinnamon mom, suckling dark babies at each breast, singing to them softly under her breath. You are noir, pourtant jolie, the hope for our liberty. And the final poem, a short one, with a kind of a mythological style, is about those people who tried to save the capital. It's called Revolt, and it harks back to a translation of Beowulf. One which I read recently was kind of a slangy version, but the best translation of Beowulf, from my point of view, was by Seamus Heaney, the great Irish poet. Revolt by Robert Edward Miss. The month, January, the year 2021. Quote, with acknowledgement to Beowulf, every castle asks for burning. Every castle wants invading. When the harming horde arrived, the palace guards were swallowed whole. No match were tossed torches, doomed to watch the insurrection unfold. They can't outshout those battle cries, espousing grudges that were once unspoken. The smoking castle smashed, our gleaming ramparts now broken. Thank you very much for listening. If you would like to comment on this reading, I would appreciate it. My email uses my middle initial, so it's robertemiss@gmail.com. Thank you.